Hello everyone, how you doing? So for part 7, which I think is going to be our final chapter, and then we're going to go on to a different topic. Obviously we've been talking about how to hear God's voice, and so based on the previous one, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the delays that we cause in God's will, okay, and how those actually occur, okay, and very simply, any type of delay that you're going to have in doing God's will or trying to walk according to God is going to be your excuses. It's the little procrastination or the little excuse. And I'll tell you, and I'll have a little bit of a story with it, okay, from my life, so you can stick around. um, there are things God asks us to do, and they're not comfortable. Sorry, darling, if you want to be comfortable in your life with God, He's not going to allow it, okay? He's going to make situations uncomfortable till you learn Him comfortable. He is the comfort. He is your comfortability. So until you walk into every situation knowing that He's your comfortability, you're not going to be able to walk and, kind of put yourself aside because we want comfort, we want safety. And so if God is going to help you understand Him as safe and Him as your comfort, that you can rely on Him, He's going to attack the very thing that you put in place as your safety. Okay? So it's the small things. It's the small things that we do. So for instance, right, if God says to you, I need you to go to that person and just say hi, like they're sitting alone, God doesn't want them to be alone, and He just wants you to go and sit with them and say hello. Because God tells me that. He doesn't tell me anything. He just says, can you go say hi to that person? And I just go and say hi, and then we just have a conversation. And their face lights up because I don't need to understand why God is telling me to go and say hi to somebody, right? I'm not always in the mood to have a conversation. Do you understand, right? There were times where I had gone to school and I had a book, wanting, I'm just like, I just want to have a day, relax, and somebody comes and sits and God says, talk to them. And I'm like, hey, okay, God. And there we are now in a conversation, right? And there was something that they needed. It happened to me again in the bus. There was a guy I was sitting next to, right? He sat next to me in the bus. And anyways, I am scrolling on my phone and, he took out his earphones and put them in. And then I was like, I really felt like I was supposed to say something before he put his earphones in. Well, then he took one out. So then I just asked him a question, I just asked him a question about like, is he graduating or whatever the case is? And we got into a conversation. And at the end of the conversation, because now we were arriving at school, he said, you have no idea how much I needed this conversation. And we were not talking about God or anything, we were talking about life. We were just talking about life, about the choices we make and, how opportunities open up for you, etc. And I told him about my book, and he just, whatever it was that I said, he was like, I really needed to hear that. And so what does it do? It takes me out of my comfort. Do you understand? Like, I'm not always in the mood to talk to people, but it's not based on my feeling of me walking the will of God, right? So it's your small things that you do because we're always thinking of things in a very big way. But before God gives you, entrusts you, let me say, before God entrusts you with a big thing, He's gonna small, 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 right? So I had to learn it, right? So it's the small excuses that you make. God says, can you go to the store at 5 p.m. and you go at 7 p.m. or you don't go because you're like, I have everything that I need. God is that. I'm using examples from my life. I remember God telling me, He's like, Jenna, I need you to go to Bentley today. And I was having a day. Oh my word, I was having a day. Let me tell you, I was emotional. I was a wreck and I was not in the mood. And it was rainy season that time in Cyprus. It was freezing, and we finally had a day where there was no rain. And God says, I need you to leave at 5 p.m. Exactly 5 p.m. Because I said to God, I'm like, do you want me to arrive at Bentley at 5 p.m. or do you want me to leave the house at 5 p.m.? And He said, I need you to leave the house at 5 p.m. And everything in me didn't want to go. And I was like, okay, let me just put on clothes or whatever. And I had to do my hair. God was like, I need you to look like you would be meeting a certain person or you would encounter somebody. Is this how you'd want to look? And I'm like, no. So there I am putting on some makeup and whatnot just to go to Bentley. I didn't even need anything. I didn't want to go. And God said, Jaina, I know. And God was very comforting to me. Like He knew how I was feeling. So He was not disregarding. He's like, Jaina, I'm so sorry. I know this is how you're feeling, but please, will you go? I need you to go. Right. And I went, and there was a certain reason why I needed to leave the house at 5 p.m. that day, because you don't know who God is speaking to. You don't know who God is speaking to. Right. And so then you encounter somebody on your walk and they needed it to see that God hears them and God is speaking to them. Do you understand? Like, so your obedience is tied to people, it's tied to people's life, And so, something that I pray is like, God, please don't ever let me get in the way. Please don't let me get in your way, because I know that I can. I am physically able to say, God, because it's all about decisions, right? And say, God, I don't want to. And God's not going to fight me. He will actually be saddened. I think a lot of the times we think God is going to be so angry and there's this wrath, that we feel like, oh, God's going to smite you. No, you're a child. God just gets saddened and He's like, I wish they believed me. I wish they went, because it was something I wanted to show them, you know? So I have so much testimony. I can tell you stories and stories. The people that I mentor and I'm building up in Bible study every week hear stories on stories. And this is because I have a daily walk, right? But I'll tell you about the time that I almost missed a season. Okay. I almost missed a season with God because I was focused on me. Because what I want you to know about the delays that you make, okay, the excuses, the small excuses, is because you don't want to be put in the position that God is trying to put you in. I'm telling you, okay? And it's not always really like, a very hard position or anything like that, but I'm just going to use it for instance in when God really needs you to do something and you are busy fighting with God, because that's what I was doing. Because I was focused on me. Okay, so some years ago, I had something and I needed to give it to somebody, right? Well, things were not happening the way that I wanted them to happen, and I'm there and I'm having my negotiations with God, thinking that God is going to negotiate His will with me. And let me tell you something quickly, okay? God actually does not mind negotiations, right? But the posture of your negotiation matters. And my posture was, God, me, I don't want to look like this. I don't want to look like a crazy person. Me, 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 me. This was my negotiation. God was not having it, right? So I figured, and mind you, I had been needing to give this parcel for a couple of weeks. And I knew that there was a certain time that I'm not going to be able to give this parcel, and I just felt like things had worked out a different way. They were not, you know. And so, anyways, it seems like time is now finished, right? There's no more, just that capacity of where I'm maybe like meeting, every so often with a person that I need to give a parcel to. And so the end comes, right? My end. The end comes, and I'm like, I was so upset with myself actually, because I knew I was in my way. I did not want to look like a fool. I did not like the situation. I didn't want to, feel exposed and all those things. I'm like, God, this one, I'm sorry. So I was like, well, it looks like this is the end. And I was actually so upset, And God is kind of like looking at me like, Jaina, Anyways, I'm thinking, finished, finito, right? Wait. God was so adamant that same day that I was like, oh, well, I guess that's done, right? That same day, God gave me 3 dreams back to back. I woke up, rebuked, went to bed, woke up, rebuked, went to bed. Third time, I couldn't. It was the exact same thing. The third time I woke up, I said, I couldn't deny it. I'm like, Aish, okay. I'm like, so I have to give this parcel, right? You have to stick around with me. I'm very fun, You have to. This is engagement, right? I can't make videos 2 minutes. I'm sorry, may I talk too much, and I have a lot to tell you. So come and chill, So I'm like, okay, so I have to give this pass. I'm like, dang it, I'm still focused on me, right? Now, there's no opportunity that is easier for me to give this pass. I'm like, how am I going to give this parcel, right? And the reason that I had delayed it for those weeks, because I told you that I was supposed to give it like weeks prior, the reason that I delayed was because I didn't know how it was going to end up. I'm like, I'm thinking about my emotions. I'm thinking about my situation. I'm thinking about my exams. I'm thinking about me. That's what I'm thinking about, right? Well, so I figure out, I'm like, okay, I can get it this way. As soon as I decided, okay, God, I will give the parcel, God did not give me rest for 3 days. No rest. I would sleep, toss and turn. I was exhausted for 3 days. So what did God do? God came right after my safety because I felt it was more safe if I kept to myself, right? Well, now in my own decision, I was finding no peace. In my own decision, because I missed that slot, I was having no peace. Now, there was still a door open, there was still an opportunity open, but, and then I did manage, on the fourth day, I managed to give the parcel, to somebody that gave it to somebody else. And I managed to get it there, basically. I managed to get it there. But the whole thing, and I'm not really a person about regrets or anything. I think things happen exactly how they were supposed to happen. But I really do think that if I had given it the time that I was supposed to, when God was first telling me about it, because God only started to amp up the volume when it started getting like closer to the finish time, because now I'm like, I haven't gone, right? So that's what I'm talking to you about, time periods. And I was so worried about me. I was so worried about me. And I don't think it would have became the results that I was still hoping for, but I think it might have been better. Okay, because out of the result that happened was just not the greatest result, right? But nothing bad or anything. Like, genuinely, I think things happen for a reason, and God knows how to plant seed, and God brings revelation to things later. So I have no regrets. But if I had done it in the time that I was supposed to have done it, I could have avoided a few things. And one thing I could have definitely avoided was confusion on both ends. Confusion. Because when you wait on something and you're not sure about something, and if you even happen to seek counsel that is not counsel of the Lord, the enemy is going to come and lie to you. You might have even started and you're like, oh my gosh, this is it, right? And then you allowed a liar to come and talk to you, and it makes you spiral. And to be honest, right after that, I went through a 2 week spiral that was just terrible, And then God built me back up again and we were okay, But what I'm saying is, because God knew everything, is I caused the delay, not God. I caused the delay. And the thing is, when I had finished like that finish line, right, and I was like, oh well, that's it, God, I guess, we're finished. I was like, hey, this is the situation. I was so upset. Upset, but I didn't want to go, right? Upset. And God was so adamant. He was so adamant that he had to push me because God cares so much. He decided, I'm not going to give her rest until she does it. The time when I gave it, I tell you, I had so much peace. I finally slept. I was so happy. And I actually wasn't worried about the circumstance. I wasn't worried about it. Where beforehand I was in my comfort and worry, worry, worry. But now I wasn't worried about it, you know? So that's what it was. And the reason that I needed to give it in that time period, because like I said, there was still the door open. I knew if I miss this door, my delay is going to be 4 years. At the time, I don't think I really knew the amount of time, but I knew it was going to be big. I knew I would have really, and it was going to complicate and make things so much harder, right? It's not that there's things that are not like still a little bit hard, but it was going to make it so much harder. And there was going to be a 4 year delay, a 4 year space of time of just whatever it was going to be. And I didn't want it to be like that. Even things in my life where God would tell me, Jana, I need to go now, like now. And I'll know because God is showing me there's a door that's open if you don't, 2 years block. Oh my gosh, because I'm talking to you about what how a season is going to come again, right? But you don't know how long it takes to get that season again, right? So this is all I want you to know, okay? Because I'm going to just sum up everything. Don't make the excuse. Don't make the excuses that cause you delay. God's telling you to do something, go and do it. I'll make the delays, okay? Because that's what you do. You cause the little delays. God tells you to do something today and you do it the next day. Or you say, I'll do it next week, right? Because I did that. I was doing that. Don't worry. Your girl was there. Now I'm more on like, God, will you just help me? I will do it. Will you just help me? Let's go. Okay. God tells me, I'm not sure. I'm like, Holy Spirit, will you help me? And I just leap. I've learned to leap in trust, and it helps so much. Okay. So that is all I have for you in this whole How to Hear God series. And we're going to be talking about another topic. I'm not too sure yet what we're going to be talking about, but we're going to expand some things. So if you do have like any topics that you would like to cover or have any questions for me, please drop it in the comments, or you can send me an inbox, whatever the case is, right? And we can talk more about it. But all I want you to know is God has a plan for you. His ways seem harder to your logic, but they are much better for you. And every way that God takes you is never going to serve you. It will serve you as a result, but if you focus on yourself and your comfortability, it cannot work. God will never do that. He's going to attack that actually until you find your comfortability in Him and serving Him. And as you serve Him, He serves you back. And then it's just like you're never empty, is what I want you to know. It's like you're never empty. I'm never empty. So thank you so much for being with me. And I will see you in our next, whatever we're going to talk about. Bye.